All right, Jacob. Jacob, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from River Grove, Franklin Park. I was born at Westlake Hospital in 1986, 11/20 of 86.
Which is suburban Chicago.
Yep, north side.
And tell me about your childhood. You had both your parents?
Yeah, I had both of my parents. My mom took off when I was a little boy. She was a drug addict. My dad took over. He was also struggling, so my grandparents took over for the most part.
So both your parents were addicts?
Yeah, yep, they were. I guess I was born, like I said, in Westlake Hospital. Had kind of a traumatic childhood. At the age of 5, 6, I was molested by my dad's girlfriend's son, who was 22. I was 6. He ended up handcuffing me, and I ended up screaming. My dad came in and called the police, and he ended up going to prison for 2 to 3 years. So I guess a lot of my drug use is running from a lot of that, of what happened when I was a childhood.
It happened just once?
A couple times.
Yeah, I mean, not that once is not bad enough.
Yeah. It happened again when I was 13. Again, the person was a lot older, and yes, he did get in trouble for it.
This happened to you more than
Yeah, it's 3 times.
3 times?
Yeah, three
Do
times.
you think there was something about, what would you point a finger at if there was something that was,
Just I was young and I was helpless.
oh, because your parents were addicted?
Yeah, it wasn't
Your household was probably a little,
yeah, it was really ramshackled.
yeah, that
Um,
makes sense.
I always had what should I say? I always had the safety of my grandparents, though. They always tried to shelter me from the world. But, you can't shelter someone completely. So fast forward, 13, 14, I ended up falling out of a tree. I ended up breaking my back in 2 spots. At the age of 14, they had me on over 90 oxycodone 40s. They would bring me up. And so from childhood, I've always been on narcotics. Then when I turned 17, I started shooting heroin. I ended up becoming a homeless, I guess what you would call a tramp back in Chicago.
That's what we called them back there.
Yeah, you call us
Hobos.
tramps. Yeah, hobos. And we'd have trains and party, and I hung out with like a lot of prostitutes and addicts. And I just started at the age of 17. I went full blown smoking crack, shooting heroin. That was what I loved to do. I didn't have to be homeless. I always had a place to go, but I choose to be because I wanted to live that lifestyle. I wanted to use.
How old are you now?
I'm 34 now. So talking about one of our gigs we used to do was I had this girl and she would pretend to be a prostitute, and we would lure guys in the alleys and basically just beat the crap out of them, take everything they got. I was 17, 18 at the time, it was very, very, very rough. When I was 10, I witnessed a body. I moved out to Phoenix, Arizona. My dad was going to Harley school. We were walking to school, me and another boy, and we found a bloated body behind a tree. We reported it at school. I'll never forget about that. A lot of bullet holes. It really scarred me really bad, seeing that, and with the whole molestation thing going together. So that's a lot of what I was running from. And just so to be truthful, I just liked getting high. I just love the opioid feeling. I could forget about everything.
What does heroin or fentanyl do for you?
It makes me like where I could talk and be myself to anybody, and I don't worry about anybody. I could just do what I do, and I feel like I'm a god in my own sense. I basically feel like God's giving me a hug, and a kiss telling me everything's going to be okay. That's what it does for me. So since then, since young age, I've been doing nothing but chasing it. I ended up coming out here because I don't want my son seeing this. I don't want him to grow up like his father. So I figured if I'm using, I just disappear so he doesn't have to see me go through this.
You have one son.
I got one son who's 4.
And the mother is raising him?
Yes, she's not an addict. Yep.
And you've been here on Skid Row for how long?
For about 3 weeks now.
So you're new here.
Yep.
What brought you out here?
Honestly, the drugs. I knew it was cheaper out here. I knew it was easier to get, and I knew it was warm.
It's warmer,
Yeah,
than Chicago, or
a lot warmer. So that's what brought me out here.
what do you do for money now?
I just hustle, panhandle. Another thing, go back, that tore my life apart. My cousin got killed in a car accident when I was 16. And we were both 16, and that tore me up. And then right after he passed, my grandmother passed, and a lot of death in my family, a lot of death. I'd say since I have started using, I have lost about 22 friends. I've had about 11 overdoses on the hospital records. I've died and stopped breathing for about 7 minutes and came back. I had to relearn how to speak and everything again. But still, the addiction is so strong, it hasn't got me to quit yet,
What emotions do you deal with now?
Guilt, majorly guilt of my son. Like, I get really emotional with my little boy because I went through seeing basically what he's kind of seeing. That's why I take myself out of that situation, because I don't want him to grow up like me. Right now, he's being raised by my parents and his mother and his stepdad, which he has a really good childhood right now. I still talk to him over the phone.
You talk to him on the phone?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
When on Tuesdays and Thursdays, that's when I talk to him.
That's great. And do you talk to your parents?
Yes.
Still? How are they doing?
Every day. They're doing good. They want me out of this. It hurts them to see their kid like this. I get real emotional over family. So it's kind of hard to talk about.
Sure.
Especially when it has to do with my little boy. So.
What do you worry about?
I just don't want him to end up like me. On drugs really bad. I don't know. I guess in a way I try to hide my emotions, but I know it's better to show them because it's what makes me human.
Yeah, having it all bottled up, I don't think does anybody any good.
No, it doesn't. So I'm hopefully one of these days I could beat this and be a good dad like I know I can be. But until then, I cannot be around him. I don't want him to see this.
When you were a boy, did you have dreams of doing something with your life?
Yeah, when I was younger, I did. I was really good. I got 2 felonies for manufacturing of marijuana. I was very good at growing and breeding plants, and that was what I wanted to do. That's why my dad still this day will text me every other day saying, get off the drugs and go to the pot shop and get a job. But so death has plagued me since my whole life. It's always plagued me. I've lost so many friends and family from sickness, a lot of friends from death, from overdoses. I just lost a good friend of mine last year from an overdose. He was only 27. They found him on the toilet with the needle still sticking out of his arm. That would have marked 22 for me, for all my friends that have passed from this disease. Drugs, yeah. They're all on either heroin or fentanyl. But back when I was younger, there was none of this fentanyl crap. It was all heroin.
Yeah. Fentanyl makes it much more dangerous. Right?
It's much more dangerous. I never really started getting into fentanyl until a couple years ago. Like I said, it wasn't really out there that much, Now I do it every day. Fentanyl, methadone patient. I've been in and out of methadone programs since when I first went in my first program, I had to get a voucher, or not a voucher, but a family member to sign for me because I was underage. First clinic I went into, I was 17 years old. I'd go from the methadone clinic to school. So, like I said, yeah, it's been a long road. Countless, like I said, molestations, 3 of them. I don't know if I mentioned, I've had on record 11 overdoses. So,
yeah. And your parents are both clean now, right?
Yes.
Do you see hope for yourself?
Yeah, I do. Eventually.
You have hope of getting straight?
Yeah, I do. I'm hoping it happens. Sometimes I don't, though. Sometimes I just see death, because the only way to stop this disease is to stop breathing, pretty much, And I don't want it to go that way, but sometimes I'm scared it's going to go that way. It's a very, very, very sick disease.
The life that you've lived since you started playing with drugs and all the terrible things that have happened, childhood and everything, what have you learned?
Honestly, to be a better drug addict, I learned some skills with, family and how to deal with people. I learned how to, honestly, I had to say, I know my addiction has made me a better person. I have more empathy towards people. I have more empathy towards addicts. I feel for them. I'll give my shirt off my back to an addict. It's a daily struggle, man, It's a daily struggle, and an addict is someone that has, in a weird way, they know what's up. They know, they know about life. They know how to, very humble people.
What do you think most people that don't do drugs don't understand about addiction?
They just don't realize how strong of a will someone has to have to even try to overcome this drug addiction. They think they're very weak individuals, and the contrast, they're not. They're very strong individuals that just have a sickness, a disease called addiction, and opioid addiction is one of the hardest to break. So I see people that struggle with this disease as heroes for me, especially if they're making it. But if they're not, I still look at them as heroes because they've been through so much. A lot of them more than me, and a lot of them not as much as me. So.
All right, Jacob. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yep.
I wish you the best of luck. Hope you get back together with your son.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That was great.
Yeah, thank you. That was the first time